The road to 10,000 problems is a lonely road, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a road worth traveling. This has been my experience since I started at the beginning of January. Technically 2 days before January 1st, but whatever. I was in the mood to do some problems. If you're curious where I'm at, I am on problem number, let's see here. What does that say? 801. I haven't started, I just wrote it down. But this 3-star notebook, or 5-star notebook, 3 subject I meant, contains problems 1 through 460. We'll flop this open to a random page. Probably something in here incorrect for people to point out, but I'm pretty sure I did these right. Not entirely sure where in the book these problems were, but you can just see that I'm doing front and back, trying to write in a way that is makes sense for a normal person to read. You know, if they just wanted to pick something up and see, like, okay, what did he do? Like, way down the line when someone wants to see what the struggling grad student did when he should have been writing his paper. But this is problems 1 through 460. And then this other 3-subject notebook has the up to 800. I haven't finished it yet, but you can see this is all the blank sheets of paper I have, and then everything underneath it is front and back as well. I'm not going to go flip through it. But by the end of January, I hope to have finished the real analysis portion. The last video I made, I kind of detailed what subject went where. As soon as I started this, like, it wasn't working at all. Because in that video, I surmised I would do about 300 to maybe 400 problems from real analysis. And all of these problems are just real analysis. They're from this book. Get out of here. Introduction to Real Analysis by Bartle and Sherbert. It's not a very thick book, as you can see, but I do like the book. I think a long time ago, I picked up this book. You can see here I circled some of the stuff I did to do that I thought was interesting. I didn't always do that, but if I circled something, chances are I did it. What did I write here? Subscribe to Struggling. That's embarrassing. I remember writing that about a few weeks ago. I was like, maybe, because this isn't my book. It was in my office that I share with people. And then eventually when I leave, someone in the future will use this book for something maybe. So I wrote an Easter egg. I put an Easter egg in the book for anyone that picks up this book in the future. I remember this theorem. I remember writing this up. So if you're just curious, like, what I'm doing, like how I'm getting through these 10,000 problems, I'm basically just going through the book. Some problems may be as simple as write down the definition, and then I write down the definition. Another problem will be just like I write down the theorem, and then I write down the proof. But to keep myself honest, like to actually say, like, I am solving problems, I'm going into the exercises, and I'm just kind of picking and choosing. And you can see here the ones I've circled, and those are the ones I've chosen to do. So it's and I think that's good. I think this is a good way. It helps, you know, when you're just writing down the definition or a theorem that someone else has proved in here, you think that's kind of cheating, but I don't think so. I think that you really, I think you do some real learning there. I mean, obviously you do. I mean, that's the reason why we have lectures and whatnot. It's, but one of the things I like about it the most is that it helps keep you going, because, like, for example, if I just went into the exercises and picked a random problem and it's really hard, I'm not just saying that this is really, I'm just pointing to something random here. If I get stuck, then that kind of discourages you from keep going, and then you kind of lose interest because of how hard it is, and then you're not likely to pick it back up. You need to put in some easy problems. Don't be ashamed of that. You need to do some hard problems, but don't feel guilty about doing easy problems. I think the easy problems are where most of the learning happens, and eventually the hard problems just kind of come to you, because the hard problem is just a sum of easy problems, and at the end of the day, well, I don't know how much truth to that there is, but for what I'm trying to do, I think it's true. Anyway, so where am I at in this book? I think 270 is where I went up. What page am I on? 245. Give me a second. Yeah, we're in chapter 9. We're talking about series and whatnot. This is a good chapter for me to look back over. This is a good chapter for me. This goes to chapter 11, which is about topology. I don't know if I want to I don't know if I want topology to be its own separate thing or included in analysis or measure theory. We'll just see what happens, because I got 200 more problems to do. Chapter 9 and chapter 10 will definitely be plenty enough to get to that extra 200 bit. At this rate, if I do like 1,000 problems a month, I'll finish at the end of October. And now that I'm saying that out loud, I mean, I realized it before I started filming, but saying it out loud and really sitting with it, it's like, this is going to be, like, not easy to keep motivated and go that far at the same time trying to finish my PhD. And don't worry, I am working on my paper. I am making sure things are good for my advisor to read. I don't know if he's read my paper yet, though. I hope that he has. This semester has been a weird start because I taught 2 classes last semester, so they didn't give me anything to teach this semester. What I'm doing to, get paid is I'm a classroom assistant. So there's like the teacher and then there's me. The teacher does all the real work, and I'm just there going like, hey, well, you guys need some help? You need to add 1/3 and 2/3? Yeah, I can help you. That's basically what I'm doing. And the Monday of last week and the Monday of this week have been canceled due to weather. And what this boils down to is, I don't only go in 2 days a week. So what this boils down to is like, I probably put in about 6 hours worth of work since the start of the semester, excuse me. It has been like the laziest start to a semester in terms of like workload, which, I'm thankful for because it gives me more time to do my personal projects as well as work on my paper. I would show you like what notes I have about the work on my paper, but I don't really want to show you because I need to keep that stuff under wraps. Speaking of which, there is an upcoming conference that I might go to. I know some of the people that are going to be there, and I really want to, hopefully, maybe, by the time the conference rolls around, present my own research at the conference via either a poster or something. I know that this is an opportunity that is afforded to some of my friends in the department will get to do that. But I've never done it, and I really want to do it. So hopefully I will be in a position when that conference comes around that I can do that. I think that would be really good for me. I mean, I've presented some of my old research from long ago at MIT and Brown, which, that's not little. But that was old research. I wanted to present the new stuff that I've been working on. So I want to present the new stuff at this upcoming conference. If I end up going, I may not end up going, but I would like to. I think it would be good. I think I trailed off. I got distracted by something stupid I said. I originally was going to just summarize, like, what have I learned since I started doing these 10,000 problems and realizing I won't finish until the end of October. One thing I've noticed by problem 800 from this Bartle and Sherbert book is I don't want to say we, but most likely, if you're like me, or at least like a fraction or some percentage like me, I was not working as hard as I possibly could have as a master's student or even as a PhD student. That's kind of not true because I think during the PhD when I was preparing for quals, I was really working hard. I can't deny that. But as a master's student and as a college student, for sure, I was not working as hard as I could have. I mean, could you imagine doing 800 problems in a month? basically, like up to this point. Now, granted, I have seen a lot of this stuff before, so I am moving quite fast. But, I mean, even if it was half of that, if you did 400 problems in a month, that's still kind of booking it. Even if it is just writing down definitions and proving the theorems in the book and writing in a very organized way. It really, like, I'm not explaining it very well. It made more sense in my head. But basically, like, imagine if you did this all the time. This is, I guess, my point. Imagine if you did this all the time and you worked really hard at something that you were really passionate about. Not just if it's mathematics, but even if it's like basketball, if you're really into basketball and you start practicing that sport, or a musician. Maybe if you practice guitar and you started racking up the hours and you were doing like real honest practice. You get the books out, you got YouTube, you're watching people, you're talking to other guitarists and other, people in that profession. Like, the amount of progress you could make in a month is amazing. And if you did this like month after month after month, like over a year, like you'd be almost unrecognizable. I sound like one of those self-motivation type gurus you see on YouTube, but it's definitely like it's got me looking at math in a different way. Even if it is like stuff I've seen before, it's like, but if you ask me like off the top of my head, can you prove like something like this theorem? If phi is a step function, then phi is Riemann integrable over the interval from A to B. I may need like a second to like collect my thoughts and do stuff like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, even if you've seen it before, doing this kind of helps organize your mind. And I do think it makes you a better mathematician, just to review. Who would have thought that practice would have made you a better mathematician, even if it's the stuff you've seen and you supposedly know? Have I encountered any problems I didn't know how to do immediately? For sure. Yeah, there was a few that I've seen. I'm like, do I really remember how to do this? And I wasn't completely anti-ChatGPT. I would sit and think about it and work and see if something I was trying was working, and if it wasn't working, then I'm like, all right, well, I really want to make progress, so I'm going to read ChatGPT and see what it says. And if it's right, that's good. If it's not right, then I'm like, okay, got to go find some other place. And I didn't use ChatGPT much. I probably used it, honestly, maybe like somewhere between 10 and 15 times over the course of these 800 problems. And then sometimes it got me, like when I was talking to ChatGPT, it got me thinking about other problems that weren't on the list. And I was just, it's just explore. Just explore the math problems. Because I think that's like one of the good things about being a mathematician, someone that does research in mathematics, is you don't necessarily have to be by the book 100% of the time. You need to be able to explore and play with the mathematics. That's one of my professors in the PhD program told me one semester, not me specifically, he told the class. He said, remember, when you're in the midst of all this studying and preparing for quals and doing all this stuff, this was a while ago before I passed quals, he said you also have to remember that you need to play. And he didn't really elaborate on what he meant by you need to play, because I was like, you mean like PlayStation? Because I'm pretty sure that's not what he meant. I'm pretty sure he meant that you need to not just be so rigid, like reading through all this and saying like, okay, like just be, just focus in on and just only consider what's written on the page. You need to be able to think like, okay, what's really going on here? What if we tried something stupid and we did something stupid? And then you realize like, okay, that didn't work because of whatever. I don't have a good concrete example. But I think you know what I mean. Don't just like get tunnel vision. Explore. Don't be afraid to ask a dumb question, because like when you realize it's dumb, it's like, okay, it was dumb, so now I'm smarter. I realize not to do dumb things. Well, I mean, that's not what I meant. Like, sometimes when you figure out like what doesn't work, that's just as good as figuring out what does work. You can't just be right 100% of the time. So don't be afraid. Yeah, I also made some comments in here. I think the authors made some typos in spots. So I decided to call them out on it. Take that, Bartle or Sherbert. What am I going to do next? So I think that once I do 1,000 from here, I probably should do something simpler. On my list, I picked calculus. And I know I can pound out some calculus problems pretty quickly, like specifically Calc 1 and 2. I want to go through Calc 3 slowly because multi-dimensional calculus is still kind of a weak spot for me. I did it back in 2014, I think it was, and I think it's kind of useful for the line of research I'm in, so I want to go back over it and just absorb it again, like I'm doing it for the first time. But the problem is I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood for linear algebra. So I want to do 1,000 problems in linear algebra, but that might take a little bit longer to do because I want to do the proofs. I don't want to just do exercises where you just compute stuff. Oh, we're back in chapter 9 again. Anyway, I've really rambled here, haven't I? Is there anything I want to say before I end the video? We talked about real analysis. We talked about linear algebra, calculus 3, my paper that needs to be written. Basically not even working this semester. Just walking around answering problems sometimes for about 2 hours out of the week. I don't know. Here, I got a chest. Write down in the comments what you think is in this chest. I'm not going to tell you what's inside of it, though, but I am interested in seeing what you have to say. Anyway, goodbye.